Hi guys, this is Cindy from Part-Time Permies, and today I'll give you a little update on our September garden. We're cleaning a lot of things up, but we did do some fall planting before we got a nice hot spell. It's perfect right now. It's like 70 degrees, but it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. So we've been hitting 90 for the last few days and expected to for the next few days. And it's getting towards the end of September. So not really used to that in Michigan. Makes it a little harder to start cold weather crops, especially like greens and such that don't like to germinate at that. But before it got hot, we did put some things in the ground. So I'll go show you. I have the drip line running here, but we're just starting to get some greens along here. This section is chard, so just starting to come up. Not the greatest germination rate that I can tell. Some things may have burnt out with the heat because there are some gaps in here, but we could replant some areas that were a little light. But some of these did. Some of the rows are coming up fairly decently. Spinach is in the next section, and again there's kind of some scattered germination of spinach. It seems to be more over here, probably because I believe those are more protected from the sun in the afternoon, because that direction is east and they're kind of under this eggplant. By the way, this eggplant was so far behind all season. Well, this 90-degree heat it loves, so I'm glad I left it here because I think we'll get some more. There's definitely some flowers in there. You can see that. So we'll get some fruit off of this before we get too cold. Over here, again, we have one row that didn't want to do anything, but we have some couple rows that are doing well of red romaine. On the opposite side, I think the green romaine is doing even better. We'll have to thin some of that out here eventually. Get some baby greens off that. Now, this section, which is nothing's happening, well, that's mosh. So mosh is definitely a cold weather plant. It was cooler when I planted these, but they take a while to germinate, longer than the others. So it's not doing anything yet. I don't believe all these little things are mosh in here because they're all over the garden. So we might have to replant those. This section we have some mustard greens, and obviously those are taking off. So is some grass, so I'll have to pull some of that, but I don't want to pull it too close to the baby greens because I don't want to pull the greens. But that's going well. Over here at the very end, we have all the way across here is pak choi. They're doing better at the other end of this garden than at this end, but they're getting going. And then the last row is another type of Asian green that actually, if you see down in here, they are starting. So just barely going, but we have some grass to pull. Okay, and there's one more section on this half over here, across from where the mosh was supposed to start. This is all Bibb lettuce. So it's starting. Again, we have some sections that have not germinated so well, but we have a decent amount. So we're gonna have a decent amount of greens here. The next door here, this is across from the red romaine. We have the green romaine, so it's doing well. So we're getting there. Things are just starting in the fall garden. Obviously don't need to hoop anything yet because it's hot as anything. As far as things we have continuing to grow, we are starting to get ripe Roma tomatoes, so great for sauces. So we've been starting to pick these. I do have a few more I need to pull out of here. You can see down in here, they're starting to ripen up, so there's going to be a lot more to come. So this, yes, the leaves are starting to burn out a bit, but the plant is doing fine for September. Tomatillos are going nuts everywhere, so we're going to have to pull some more of those. And I've been debating on whether or not to pull these out of the ground soon, maybe in a week or two, because I'd like some more space for fall plantings. So it's going to go there, but we're still getting tomatillos. This I will be pulling out and feeding to the chickens. These are the previous Asian greens and pak choi. We have been eating those. Those were the only greens that did anything all summer. So, interesting thing is, I believe that was chard. Huh, interesting. This is a pokeweed that I tried pulling that is actually growing back. So we have some weeds to pull through here, things to clear out. The beans, these are a baked bean, so a dry bean, so we're just letting those grow until the pods start drying out. But you can see they're starting to get older, but we got some nice beans. If you look down in here, there's definitely some nice beans in there. So we'll just let those pods dry right here on the vine, and then we'll start pulling these out. We do have some other varieties that some of them took, but not many. We got some yellow beans. Got a few to pull here, so we'll be harvesting those. And these were my trimmings, so some of these died off. Some of them are actually, with this heat, trying to bounce back. These are my trimmings from the tomato plants. Somebody ate part of that tomato. I don't see any tomato worms on it, but you can see this plant is actually growing back a little bit, even though it's looking sad. So, some of these, we might get a few more tomatoes off of them. Like over here, we have some tomatoes ripening up, so we'll get a few more off of these. These are just the trimmings. They weren't plants I really planted. I just pulled some suckers off some other plants and just stuck them in the ground. Some of them didn't do well. Some of them, I wouldn't say they took off, but they are producing some tomatoes. So if I had done that earlier, I probably would have bigger plants here. The pumpkin plants are dying off, and the pumpkins are looking good. So these are pie pumpkins. Nothing outrageously huge or anything, but they would make some good pumpkin pie. These were the eggplants that were taken off earlier. These are actually ready to pull out of the ground because this is ripe. This is way past ripe. So this plant is pretty much done. So is this one. So we can pretty much pull those out of the ground and maybe put something else in there. Corn, we've pulled some corn. They're not very big. This one's actually, it's not huge, but has some, feels like it has some kernels on it. But a lot of them, like this, wasn't even fertilized. So we got some. We don't have very many plants, and that's probably part of the issue. But we have some more that we could pull. The turban squash, we've pulled a few of those already off the vines. The vines are dying off. I have two zucchinis that I need to dig the seeds out. Those are my seed zucchinis right there and back in there. So the zucchinis are otherwise done. I just need to pull those off the vine and pull the seeds out for next year. And Lucky's talking to us. And this is my yellow squash that is for seed. Now, interesting thing, still have some yellow squash forming a little bit. Don't know how much longer, but those we can clean up this end of the garden pretty soon. The peppers, still getting a few. There's still even flowers on this pepper plant because it's been so warm. So we'll let that keep going for a little bit. This is the one pepper plant that gave us the most, and it's a hot pepper. It's a Thai pepper, Thai chili, which is very good if you like heat. Basil plants are doing well. With this heat, this pepper plant has bounced back a little bit. We might get a couple more peppers, but it's gonna get cold again, so I doubt it. Put some beans over here. Some of them, I think these are the baking beans again. So some of them are taking off, but a lot of them I think are just older beans. So I have to buy some new beans to put in the ground. Got some random germination over here. Not a whole lot. You can see the dried out potato vine, they died off, so I gotta pull those out. Have to get a good potato harvest. These are mustard greens. Might let them go to seed. before I pull those. And on the back side of this bed we have catnip. We have some lavender. And we have some spearmint down there. So we'll let those go and come back next year. Okay, so this is the bed that we did nothing in, and with our tall sunflowers. So I could harvest the sunflowers off of this. I usually like to leave a few for the wild birds to peck at. So we'll leave some. But this, we really didn't do anything. Lucky's being loud. We really didn't do anything to this bed other than transplant some strawberries. I need to pull some grasses out of here, but you can see they are sending runners everywhere. So that's nice to see. The looks like our lamb's quarter is going to seed. But we have some tomatoes, and actually if you look over here, these are all volunteers. So we have some Roma. The plant is dying off, but we're gonna get some ripe Romas, a few ripe Romas there. Hard to video when they're all sounding off. Over here we have some cherry tomatoes. These are all volunteers. They're mixed in with some lamb's quarter that's going to seed. We have tomatillos over here, along with another tomato plant back in the corner there that I've let the chickens peck through the fence at. We have some potatoes in here as well that I need to pull. So we'll work on that. Another volunteer tomatillo. And we do have some other volunteers in here. Some pear tomatoes and some orange cherry tomatoes. Those are both orange plants, but you can see these are in the shape of pears. So very nice. I gotta pull a bunch of these. We haven't been in here. In fact, some are hanging out in over the chickens, which they haven't grabbed at yet. Okay, so I'm gonna go harvest some tomatoes and pull out some of the weeds and the pak choi and stuff and throw it in the compost, which is a chicken compost. Get them some food and let them go to work on things. I've pretty much harvested my tomatoes, and I got a few Romas. They're still ripening up, so over the next few weeks we'll get a lot more, but the volunteers are going nuts. So I have this little bin. If you look in there, about 90% of those tomatoes are from the volunteer tomato plants in my wild garden. So they're doing really well. I did pull some off that were splitting and threw it over to the chickens, so they can enjoy those tomatoes as well. But these are the ones that all look fairly ripe at this point. And there are a lot more coming on those plants. In fact, those plants are still flowering. So again, we're at the end of September, so I expect another month of tomato harvest as long as we don't get a huge frost. And in fact, as long as we keep watching the weather, might be able to throw a tarp over or, plastic over to protect them from a frost if it's not too bad. So we might still get tomatoes for a while now. In fact, underneath these plants the leaves are having trouble, but that's because they're so dense. Look how much these are growing. These are the Romas, and there are a whole lot of green tomatoes and almost ripe tomatoes on this plant. I've only picked the first ones, so more to come, definitely. There's even, if you look down in here, there's still flowers on this plant, so I expect we'll get a number more. Okay, so I think we're gonna call it a day, a morning. It's getting hot, so I'll show you what I've harvested. We only have a few of the yellow beans left. There seem to be some purple green beans still growing and a few yellow beans on a couple plants. So I pulled 2 of the yellow bean plants because they look like they're done. I just set them down. pulled them up, dropped them where they were, and left 3 plants, 1 purple bean plant, 2 yellow bean plants, and then of course all those over there were just waiting for them to dry because those are baking beans. So we have a few tomatillos. There's actually a lot more still coming on the vines, so we got those taken care of, and a whole lot of tomatoes. Okay, so that's about it for the September gardening. Hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment below. We are almost at 500 subscribers, so if you do like these types of videos, please feel free to subscribe. You can even hit the little bell and it tells you when the new videos go up. So we're trying to get, this week, we'll try to get about 3 to 4 videos and maybe a live show in there. I'm considering Sunday night live show. I'll post on my Instagram and on my Facebook account. Just look up Part Time Permies. We'll see you with the next video.